cover goes onto a single boat. The main item is protective paint, zinc chromate. At one side of the vast million-dollar war-constructed assembly room is the machine shop. Here, rough castings are ground, machined, polished, threaded and shaped to precision measurement. A turret lathe is rarely idle. Performing several operations with a mere shift to the tool in use, it's a jack of all trades in turning metal to variable uses. The magnetic chuck surface grinder holds its object with electrical force. Small parts must also be plane smooth. A propeller shaft has to be tapered with an accuracy no human hand could achieve. And it must lie straight and true. Now they drill a hole in the tight hull. 3 propeller shafts have to come out in the open. And struts must be attached to keep the whirling shafts secure as they whip up a monstrous weight that will spring together, dash high, and boil away behind. A PT's nervous system, the electrical wiring, connects engine room, chart house, day room, galley, and torpedoes to a central board. These assemblies are wired in advance and installed when complete. The Packard Marine engine is hauled out of the crate. As you might suspect, looking at its small size in relation to great power, there is aviation as well as marine history behind it. A distant ancestor was the Liberty motor of World War I. More recent forebears were power plants of the Miss America racing boat. On a basis of pound per unit of horsepower, it compares favorably with the great airplane engines currently in use. It's built for maximum power, minimum weight, and bulldog endurance, exactly like each tough fighter boat that houses 3 of them. Brought to the assembly floor on dollies, they are carefully installed in a PT engine room. There's just enough room for them to line up. The 2 on the outside have V drives, reversing the direction of crankshafts facing forward. The middle one has a direct drive to the propeller. It's a very compact engine room, but big enough for a competent engineer to make adjustments and repairs if they should ever be necessary. At full speed, the engines make a noise that discourages conversation. But engineers are less dependent on small talk than those who sing cowboy ditties on deck. And now the PT, with engine, superstructure, and deck aboard, is ready for its first run in the open, a 220 crawl on dry land. The big doors are open, and the boat is pulled outside. It moves very slowly because there's not too much space for maneuvers. Besides, any boat on wheels is not really at home. But there will never be a better chance to fall in love with the sharp lifted bow, the long descending sweep of the chines, and the bulbous flare of the gunnels. Notice the convexity of the air and water riding bottom, and the beautifully curving lines that run from stem to stern. There's class all over her. You can see it in the outer shape. You know it's been built with infinite care. It's a proud boat and purposeful. You see it. The men who made her feel it. In the number 16 building, smaller pieces are added. Propellers are put in place, screwed up exactly to avoid vibration. 3 rudders, generating plant, batteries, and wiring are installed. The ventilating system is completed. Firefighting equipment is put aboard. Preparations for placing armament are made. And don't forget those gas tanks. Powerful engines need plenty of gasoline. The 3 big tanks of a PT are carried amidship under the day room. The fact that a PT in action rides on top of the water exposes the tanks to enemy gunfire despite their position in the bilge. This leads to another parallel with airplanes. The tanks are self-sealing, so that a bullet passing through is only another hole without a leak. Now she's ready to make her final move on dry land. As one boat comes out of the 16 building on the way to the water, another takes its place. At top production, no space can be left idle. They pass each other at the door, the arrival going in stem first and the other being hauled out backwards. The momentary indignity of backing into the launching crane is soon past. Days and nights of glory are in the offing. A giant dockside crane lifts the boat and its cradle into the air. Powerful machinery tightens under the dead weight of tons. The boat is moved out high over the water of the basin. Gradually, it's lowered until at long last, the boat floats free of the deep-sunk 11.5-ton cradle. A creature born for the water has come into her own element. She rests there, passive, at home, but not yet ready to live. A small launch pulls her away from crane cables and into the roofed, walled, wet basin. The still powerless PT moves quietly behind. Final fittings are made in the wet basin. Guardrails that prevent a gun from shooting away its own deckhouse or mast are put in place. Guns are installed here, and so is other equipment too secret to be mentioned. Guns forward, aft, in the turret, they sprout all over, and each must be installed with ultimate precision. For these are no toys, no games, no playthings. They are literally a matter of life and death. And how does she take all this new equipment? Will she carry it lightly? Will she ride high, fast, and handsome as ever? These are questions that must be answered without any lingering doubt. But the time has come when the engines will sound alive, alternately muttering and roaring their response to a throttle shoved forward with the heel of a hand. The first trial is to be run. They're ready to prove that she can do the main and simple things for which she has been built. She'll handle in the water, she'll run fast and run slow. But first she moves out slowly, leaving the wet basin. First, she's brought to the main basin. The engines are started up for dock trials. After an hour, they're ready. Instruments in triplicate show they're delivering. The engineer throws his levers, meshing power to the propellers. And the shaft turns slowly. This, the builder's first trial run, is one of many. When the builder has been wholly satisfied, the Navy will take charge and try it all over again. Newark Bay sees the new boats come out week after week. At first, they crawl through waterways too crowded for racing speed. Now they change their pace. They slide easily under the high arch of the Bayonne Bridge. After crossing New York Harbor, they speed up the East River. All's well below. Shove the throttles a little more. Swing around that barge. That's the Hellgate Bridge we just passed. And out in Long Island Sound, she begins to run, warming up for the measured mile. Her speed is clocked. With stopwatches, calculations are made. And always the telltale instrument panel. Managing constructor Irwin Chase comes along to see his blueprints in action. Armament needs testing, too. Keep that airplane high. Or maybe there's a submarine to start. Those shots are only testing, but they could mean business. They call them Sea Hornets, Devil Boats, and Green Dragons. They can turn on a dime, lean into a curve, or jump the waves like a jackrabbit. Their best work is done at night, so there's not much photographic record of their world-famous exploits. These are the babies Commander Bulkley used to carry MacArthur out of the Philippines. They fought out of Tulagi, at Guadalcanal, at Sicily and Salerno, on the shores of New Guinea in the dirty weather of the Aleutians, and they helped guard the Panama Canal. They fought E-boats and were out in front of the invasion. They came back to the Philippines at Leyte. They're the little PT boats with a load of dynamite on either shoulder, and they'll tackle anything that floats. They represent the newest combat weapon produced by this war, and they have been expertly used by our Navy. The story of the PTs would be incomplete without a well-deserved tribute to the brave men who fight them. Like every man of war, the PTs were made for only one purpose: to meet the enemy and destroy him wherever he can be found, be it on or under the sea, on the land, or in the air. The PT men have done just that, from barge to battleship, submarine to airplane. The PT men have acquitted themselves with honor, reflecting the highest credit upon the United States Naval Service.